Welcome, goalies. Welcome, goalie coaches and goalie parents. We're thrilled to welcome you to the Goalie Podcast, and our special guest today is going to be Justin Goldman. We are joined, as always, by John Corrado. John, how are we doing today?
Excellent day happening.
You fired up for this guest?
Honestly, I was on his podcast about a year and a half ago. I'm glad he's returned the favor, and I remember he was at Merrimack with us a couple of years ago, and it's just always look forward to sitting with him and talking with him.
All right, John, just to like fill you in a little bit, a couple years ago, just so how you understand at our age how time's flying, we're probably talking about 12 to 15 years.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
My
Yep.
goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I think that trip to Merrimack was, I believe, either 2000. I think it was 2013 or 2014. It was a very big part of my development and growth at the time. And like I was telling you, John, before we started here, now that I'm looking back, it's been over a decade. Like how impactful that experience was and the other experiences surrounding it, because that's when I was starting to really dive into like understanding goaltending develop on a wider scale beyond just, what's happening in the crease. And the community that you guys have built out there and the experience I had on the campus, it was so cool. Even as a, mid 20-year-old, it was just so cool to be on that campus, be around all the goalies, see the facilities, see how the training was working. It was such a cool exposure experience for me. And yeah, definitely one that I'll always remember and never forget.
And you've branched out in so many places. And John, we're just doing the same thing. We just stay at it.
Yeah. It's but I don't consider it a grind. It's still fun. The summers are long, the hours are long, but they go by quick. And it's just fun interacting with all the goaltenders and even the shooters you have fun with. So summer's a long time. It's a short time at the same time.
Hey, so we're got to get to the intro here. Justin Goldman. If you don't know who Justin Goldman, you probably aren't really a goalie at this point. Justin is all over the place. Probably best known for the Power Within series, and you just released your 3rd/4th.
Yeah, it's the fourth. It's the fourth one in the series, but it's called the Power Within 3 because when we didn't know it was going to turn into series when we started this, right? Like we were just looking to put out some good content for goalies. And then we decided on the second one to call it Embrace the Grind. So Embrace the Grind is the one that doesn't, follow suit with the Power Within title.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So Embracing the Grind is part of the series, but because we didn't know it was going to be a series when we first started this, we didn't continue the, Power Within 2. But that one's considered the Power Within 2. And so now the Power Within 3 is the 4th title in the series. I know it's confusing, but it just goes to show, like, we didn't expect the community to embrace the series as much as the community has. And it's such an honor to work with Mike, who's been a mentor of mine for as long as you guys have, like 12, 13 years. And to still be cranking out these books and helping goalies is meaningful to me. And I know Mike and I truly cherish that experience working together on those.
Awesome. So you give back so much to the goalie community through the books, and also through Lift the Mask and the Goalie Guild, the retreat. I'm not sure what we're calling it these days. What is the symposium/retreat? Is it still a retreat?
It's still the Global Goaltending Retreat.
Okay.
It hasn't been as global the last few years because it's been a little challenging for some of the European coaches to travel over. Yeah. But I kind of flipped the bill a little bit, and I've been going over to Sweden for the past few years. Just to continue, the collaboration and the learning. As you guys know, I'm so obsessed with learning. I enjoy taking these trips. And yeah, hopefully next year we have some more Euros coming back. So we decided to take this summer off just so we could support the symposium that's happening over in Sweden and support some of the stuff that USA Hockey Goaltending is doing. We took this year off, but we'll be back in Breckenridge June 2026.
Fantastic. That's exciting. Yeah. So I want to dive into some stuff. Okay. So I'm dying to talk to you. You're very unique in the sense that, with your background. And then, you were before there was such a name of social media influencer. You were a social media influencer before
Yeah,
that was a thing. You were
right.
huge in the goalie space. And then, with the books and kind of where you've gone and giving back, and you've had this, as a writer, as social media, as an e-bug
Mhm.
for the Colorado Avalanche. You've had so many different experiences, and I want to dive into where your head is now with all that you've learned. We all go in kicks, right? So
Mhm.
I'm in a kick right now. John and I spent weeks redesigning our summer training program,
Right.
redesigning our 8 week curriculum, changing based on kind of where goaltending is and where we think we need to go with our drills and our 8 week curriculum. Where are you now? Are you still, the last time we talked, you were all in environmental learning?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what are you into now? What's driving you right now?
Well, first of all, I mean, exactly what you said, like the whole concept of relearning and redesigning and adapting to the ever-changing game, I think is honestly part of where I'm at right now. And that's why I say I think, one of my biggest skills and one of the things that's driven me all of these years is just constantly learning. The more I learn, the less I realize I know. And that hasn't changed at all. That's always been, I think, the foundation of like why I've done so many different things. And I love to travel and I love talking to different people from all different parts of the world. Yes, ecological dynamics has probably been the big catalyst for me since coming out of COVID, 2, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And being turned on to this evidence-based and science-based um, kind of philosophy of how athletes acquire and develop and continue to polish skill has really changed a lot for me because there's one quote that really changed a lot for me significantly, and I'll share that now. And that quote is, "It's not what's inside your brain that always matters, but what your brain is inside of." And a lot of times I think we look at goaltending as this really like cognitive based, very demanding cognitive position, and it is. It takes so much cognitive skill to be good at tracking pucks, reading plays, reading releases. But our environment, what our brain is inside of, also really matters. And I think we can all look at different experiences in our life when we were at a certain place or where we grew up or the goalies that we were surrounded by, how much that impacts how we play the game and how we perceive the game. For example, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I had no concept of elite level goaltending. I had no goalie training. I had nothing, no resources. And while I can look at that as like a negative and like, oh, it held me back, it held me back. Well, now, like you said, Discord, Brian, my viewpoint has changed so much that I look back and I see that all as a positive. Because that's what made me unique as a thinker of the position and a goaltender and someone who just was always thirsty for knowledge, always thirsty to learn from guys that have been doing it much longer. And I get this question all the time, Justin, why aren't you a goalie coach? Like, why aren't you actually on the ice training these goalies? Hey, you know what? I've been apprenticing as a goalie coach for 15 years now. There will come a point where I'm ready to step on the ice and start giving lessons and really, coaching the position. But because I had the background I had growing up in Texas with no resources and no like automatic insight of the game, my parents were never involved in hockey or anything like that. I still feel like I'm learning how to become a really good goalie coach, and that's okay. And I appreciate that. I appreciate my journey, and I appreciate the fact that even at 43 years old, I can still consider myself a learner of the game, a learner of coaching, a learner of the position. And things are changing so rapidly that I think every goalie coach needs a little bit of that. Because like you said, you're going to have a point where you're going to have to redesign your drills. You're going to have to redefine certain concepts. You're going to have to relearn certain, technical aspects of the game. So we not only need that as goalies, but I think we need that as coaches as well, no matter what your age is. And I really lean into that. I lean into the fact that my background is very non-traditional. That's made me who I am. I wouldn't change any of it. And it brings a unique perspective to the community. So yeah, that's how things have changed a little bit. I used to look back and be like, oh man, I wish I grew up in Boston, like why did I have to be born in Texas? But hey, that's what made me who I am. And I can still contribute. And I really, lean into that.
Tell us about what's going on in the world of goaltending. So you're unique once again because you have so many people that confide in you and affiliate with you, associate with you. One day you'll be on the phone with someone from Moose Jaw, and then the other day you're on the phone with someone from Minnesota, then the next day you're on the phone with someone from Helsinki, and the next day you're on the phone with someone from Russia. Like you're in around everything. What can you tell me about something interesting about the world of goaltending right now, where different countries are at, and where the emphasis in different areas are?
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome question. And that's like literally what I am super, super into right now, obviously, and have been for a long time. So I just, I've taken these 2 trips to Sweden. I was in Gothenburg for the World Juniors in 2024 when USA won gold. That was an amazing experience. And then Sweden followed it up because they hosted the World Championships just recently in Stockholm, and then it was also in Denmark. So I went to Stockholm, even though Joey and Team USA was over there in Denmark. I was over in Stockholm because Sweden was hosting and the IIHF.
Well, it was such a logical fit, Denmark and Stockholm. Who wouldn't think about putting those 2 countries together?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I felt the same way.
But most importantly, though, did it spread hockey?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the World Championships is to give other countries a chance to play the best in the world and to raise their level. To me, that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Again, like 43 years old, been doing this for 15 years. First World Championship for me. So just to see the fan bases from the 16 countries and how passionate they were. And how like Swedish fans were interacting with Slovakian fans and Finnish fans were interacting with the US fans and Canada. Like it was so well respected. It was so well done by the IHF in Sweden. I was blown away. Everyone was having a blast. The fan space that they had before.
Did you understand? You'd never been, right?
Never been.
So obviously I spent a lot of time in Europe and coaching and playing and so on and so forth. So like I understand the importance of the World Championships. If you're in the DL, you have the playoffs, and that's big. But playing for Germany in the World Championships is bigger than playing in the playoffs. Here, nothing's bigger than the NHL playoffs, which is absolutely right. It's the best players in the world, but the time conflicts. But if you've never been to a World Championship, you don't understand how passionate the fans are and what a big worldwide event it really is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I got exposed to. And I just will never forget, like we're walking up to one of the games. It was Slovenia versus Sweden. And the Slovenian goalie stood on his head, made up like 56 saves. And it was just so amazing when, during the second period, he was on the end where all the Slovenian fans were. So the Slovenian fans are just plastered against the glass, supporting the goalie. He's standing on his head, making all these saves. And I'm watching it. As an American being at this event at the first time, and I was just like, European hockey is so sick because you don't get this.
I coached in Germany years ago. You got to give a shout out to the fans in Europe. They're so respectful of the game.
Yes.
They're so passionate about the game. And I just remember the first game I was at the SAP Arena. It was filled up. I just walked out and went, wow. And I had coached in a bean pot before. I coached in some other important games, but that first experience of being in a packed arena where the crowds get their chants going, the beating on the drums, like you can't experience that. And again, they're so respectful of the game. They just want to learn about the game and they're so passionate about it. So shout out to the European fans.
Yeah, it was really a cool experience. And again, just like 16 very different cultures from 16 countries all smushed together in Stockholm. For a week, it was like, that was my heaven, right? Like, that's exactly what I want to see. I want to see as many different cultures, as many different types of goalies and different training and different backgrounds all smushed together in a 2-week tournament. So yeah, I came away from these 2 trips from Sweden, just to kind of get back to your question. I came back from these 2 weeks or these 2 trips from Sweden, and I truly think Sweden has kind of become the goaltending nexus. And the reason why I say that is because what the federation has done in terms of educating not only the goalie coaches, but the head coaches as well, about the integration of goalie coaching and head coaching and integrating the goaltender into training and team-based drills, I think is really where we need to start seeing more happen in North America. On top of that, in terms of like how they're progressing their training models and their in-season programs, I've also really come to appreciate the deeper level research they're doing on the hips and the knees for goalies, or the hips. The hips and the kind of the long-term damage that, goaltending can do on the body. So, they're really deep into, they've got studies that are going to last 4 or 5 years on, hip kinematics. And Sweden has also branched out to, some researchers in Canada and North America to collaborate. And so to know that Sweden is not only like refining and updating their own model for, all the Swedish coaches, but now they're starting to branch out more and work with some North American researchers and collaborate on studies that will last 4 or 5 years and have this really good impact on, just educating coaches about the long-term impact and the demands of the position from butterflying. And we talked about butterfly count before, and I know, Dak, that's something you talked about. Like, all of this is really kind of focused in Sweden right now. That's where a lot of this is emerging from. And so that's why I took those 2 trips. Usually I don't, take trips back to back like that, but there's so much new knowledge coming out of the research on the hips, research on long-term goaltending health. And what I'm trying to do is just take that emerging research and bring it over here and share it like I always do. Because some of the research that's taking place in Sweden right now, we won't see the published reports, we won't see the results for years. But there's still little pieces that are coming out and being shared at these symposiums. And these symposiums are crucial, right? Like, you guys did the ones in Boston for a few years. I came to those. We had the network symposiums, the network goaltending symposiums from 2014 to 2018. But in my opinion, there's still not nearly enough of those type of events where we're bringing the goalie coaches together to share the new knowledge that's coming out, share ideas, and continue to, like I said, reimagine and redefine some of the technical aspects of the position that we've been teaching for years. So I know it's not easy for a lot of these coaches to make these trips, and that's what inspires me to make them, because I know I can bring the knowledge back. I can bring these updates and these little morsels and these nuggets of wisdom back and share them with the goalie coaches in North America that don't get the opportunities to make these trips.
Well, Justin, I think you hit on something very important. It's the overall health of the goaltender. It's no longer just teaching drills. If you want to be a complete goalie coach, you got to know a lot of them, not just the mechanics of teaching, but you got to know how the body works, how it's reacting to certain things. You got to know when mentally your goalie needs a day off. You got to encompass the whole aspect of goaltending. It's no longer just firing 1,000 pucks at a goaltender saying, "Hey, stand here and get hit." There's so much, the mental aspect, the physical aspect, the goalie's overall health and well-being. And I'm so glad that's being addressed, not just in one country, that you're going to spread the word throughout, because it's such an important part of the overall development and well-being, I should say, too, of the goaltenders.
Yeah. And you touched on a point that was very much emphasized these 2 trips in Sweden, at these 2 symposiums, the holistic approach. Again, we're kind of starting to move away from being overly focused on these technical aspects. I think we've kind of become really good experts at like the technical components of teaching, rebound control and recoveries and tracking pucks. But we have to balance that out with understanding the human component of, coaching athletes. And that's been a big shift for me too, Dak, for the last 5 or 6 years, is moving away from just being all about rote repetition and technique focused, and more focused on understanding the human component and being human centered. And that really shifted the role, I think, for coaches, because again, it wasn't just our technical mastery that really mattered, or how good we were at teaching these like really specific technical components, but how good are we as designers? And I see goalie coaches now as designers. Like, we have to design practice sessions that are engaging, that are fun, that still have learning involved, that look like the game, that are representative, but still kind of hammers home the technical, repetitive, like you need the reps, right? You need the reps, but you also, like you said, John, you've got to focus on long-term health, and you have to think a little bit about unintended consequences. Like there are some unintended consequences that can creep in later on if you're always doing things the same way. But we know now that no two athletes are the same. And so again, I think right now goalie coaching is kind of in this really cool transition phase where, everyone understands the holistic approach really matters and having those relationships with your goalies. But how do we balance that in terms of how we're designing our practice sessions or our season-long programs? And Dak, I mean, the fact that you guys are redefining, and you said that, like, that is exactly what I want to hear. That's exactly what I hope, coaches in different parts of the country, different parts of the world are doing, because the game just changes so fast, and language changes, and the way kids learn change all the time. And so we're constantly in this, state of flux and this state of change. And that's part of the fun of being a goalie coach. No two lessons, no 2 days are ever the same.
So it's funny. Couple points here. One is when you were speaking, if you saw me look away, it's because I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard a goalie coach not too long ago refer to himself as a goalie mechanic. And I said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And then I'm listening to you and I'm going, no, we're not mechanics. We're project managers. Right.
I was going,
because my first thing was, okay, we're not mechanics, we're engineers. No, engineers is too cut and dry. We're project managers. You have to take, I don't know, is there a better analogy than a project manager?
I say designers. Like, I think we're architects.
Yeah.
I think we're designers. Like, we have to incorporate the environment into how we provide these learning experiences for the goalies every time they're on the ice. We're not going to design a lesson plan for a 16-year-old the way we would for a 12-year-old, right? And so we have to incorporate the goaltender's background. We have to know more about our goalies and how they learn. Every goalie is different. And so I think when we start to look at ourselves, when coaches start to look at themselves as designers of learning experiences, it becomes a lot more fun, because now you've opened yourself up to this whole new world of learning. And it can be things like ecological dynamics. It can be things like, mental skills. It can be things like, one of my favorite ones is the constraints-led approach. Using constraints to create affordances for goalies to move in different ways and find solutions in their own terms is really important. And so this is a lot of the rhetoric that I've been sharing in Breckenridge, and at a lot of the rhetoric that's coming through these symposiums that are happening in Sweden over the past few years, is coaches really are being seen as designers of learning experiences. And you're taking all these different domains and they're all converging on each other. You're looking at, technology and AI and Sensorina. You're looking at vision training. You're looking at, holistic models of mindfulness and breathing. And convergence is an industry-wide, like, global thing that happens in all domains and in all sports. And it's happening right now in goaltending. And, where you guys are at, the lab is a perfect example of this. How much convergence is happening there, because you're bringing in all these different people from all these amazing domains that are all focused on better performance. And the goalies just get to immerse themselves in that. And imagine all the self-knowledge and all the self-learning that's taking place, because you're creating an environment where goalies can thrive and they can ask questions and they can be curious and they can be creative. And that's why I see goalie coaches as designers now.
I got to set you up with Marchese Sports Therapy. That runs our goalie lab right now.
Yeah, are these? You guys speak the language?
Well, no. Here's the deal. Like this.
Well, he speaks a different language.
Literally,
okay.
It's he approaches physical therapy first off from the neuro standpoint. He's looking neurology first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we talk, we go over stuff. I explain what's going on with the goalies. And through the course of the year, he identified 5 issues with goalies that I can't fix.
Interesting.
That he can fix.
Okay.
And he fixes them in 4 to 6 weeks. So simplest way to think about it is startle reflex, primitive reflex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we think when we got a young goalie on the ice or whatever, they move their hands towards their head on the release of a shot. What do we say? We say they're scared.
Right.
Some kids do it, some kids don't. Well, that kid's scared and that kid's not scared. So we say 100 times over, don't flinch, don't flinch, don't flinch. They don't have a chance. They're going to flinch. It's a primitive reflex. They haven't grown out of it. They're not scared. It's just what their mind is making them do. They don't even know they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up with a 15-year-old, real good goalie, AAA level goalie. And I messed up while I was filming the drill. I filmed it in slow-mo.
Okay.
So he starts, I'm close up, slow-mo, and 2 shots in a row, you see the glove come up and you see the glove come down, up and down. Like as obvious as you could possibly see. Bring the video over to John Marchese, and he's like, oh yeah, primitive reflex. We're going to do the star drill. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And like in 4 weeks, he stops flinching.
It's gone. Yeah.
And I think about how many times I've got to repeat over and over that doesn't, it's almost like kids that are off angle in training. And you sit there and you go, dude, you're off, dude, move to your left, dude, move to your, like you say it, you say it 100 times, you're off angle. I had no idea that their dominant eye was telling their brain that they're on angle. So they think I'm a clown because and they're looking at it and their brain saying I am 100%. So we identified these 5 things with the drills to correct them off the ice. So now it's like, I got a kid on the ice Connor, the other day, right? I'm on the ice with Connor, college level goalie. And I'm like, Connor, you got to go see John. He's 20 years old with a primitive, hasn't outgrown that primitive, that startle reflex.
Yeah.
I never would have known, right? Well, how would I know that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think you hit on so many interesting points there. First of all, like that's convergence in action because you have access to someone who has knowledge in a certain domain.
Yeah.
You bring that knowledge in and then you learn from it. And then that opens your eyes to things that you didn't see before. And you've been doing this how many years? Like double, triple anyone else, other people out there.
Thanks,
so it's
bud.
like,
Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm old. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
No comment.
John, you're not too far behind me.
Exactly.
But that's, I mean, and hey, that's like one of the coolest things I saw when I was in Finland, or when I was in Sweden, was Hannu Nyquist, who, he's known very well for being a big part of Finnish goalie development and working with Sergei Bobrovsky over the summer goalie coach. He is, he's been around for a long time. And he is still learning about how to coach mental skills. And when I see someone at his age, his pedigree, his understanding of the holistic approach, still learning, still taking courses in Finland about mental skills coaching, like that's all the inspiration I need to always be learning. Like if someone like him who works with Bobrovsky and has all these amazing accolades and has had such a big impact on a whole country's goaltending development, is still taking online courses and still learning at a university level. That's all the inspiration I need. And when I came back,
that's what John, you did that during your whole hip surgery thing and got a chance to watch podcasts and listen and learn. And
what I think is incredible is we've been able to identify certain people that have certain skill sets that 10 years ago, we never would have thought they could relate to hockey or goaltending. And now with all the knowledge available, and again, now we share things in the goalie community. There are things I've learned like I said, Dak, within the last 2 or 3 years from my hip surgeries and recoveries that I didn't know about, and I'm able to share them now. And being able to look at certain people and say, oh, I never heard about breath work and how that could relate to hockey. Oh, I never knew about how to meditate properly and how to relax myself after a game or before a game. All these different things being brought in the goalie community and being shared as knowledge. It's just making everybody better, not just a goaltender, but be better people.
Yeah. I another big thing that I've tried to emphasize is kind of bursting that goalie bubble. It's very easy for us to be inside that bubble. We look at everything from the crease out, right? But a big shift has been, again, like team integration. So we're getting away from just always focusing on what's happening in the crease. We're trying to get goalies to open their eyes up to the game. We have to remember that goalies are hockey players first, and then they become goalies. So getting goalies to read the game, understand line changes, make sure goalies are going up and listening to the drills when the whole team goes up to the bench to listen to the next drill. The goalie should go up there. The goalie needs to be more integrated into what's happening with team concepts, team play, understanding power plays, understanding penalty kills. Goalies, I think, have gotten a little bit away from that because they've been kind of extracted from the team dynamic. Because what was the sentiment for so long? Oh, goalies need more time with their goalie coaches. We need more individual work. And that pendulum swung, and we got what we wanted. We got more goalie time. We've got more goalie-specific training than ever before. But I think it's shifted things a little bit too far, and that pendulum swung a little bit too far. Where now, okay, we got to bring the
more goalies,
back.
less hockey players. Yes.
Now we need more hockey players and a little bit less of the goalies because, hey, we've extracted the goalies out of that. What is that word I love? The environment, right? We pulled them out of that environment a little bit too much. And I think some goalies have kind of like put on those blinders that you see horses put on when they're in the stalls getting ready to jump out, right? Like they're so good at what's happening in the crease. They're so good at tracking pucks. But I think that vision, and I don't just mean like physical vision, but like, being able to perceive the game, I think it's become too puck focused. I think we need to find ways to pull those blinders off a little bit and get goalies to really read the whole game and understand the whole game. When I was growing up playing, I thought I was good. I didn't know anything about team systems. I didn't know anything that was about power play setups or, where are the big scoring threats. I didn't know any of that. I had a huge gap in knowledge about the game of hockey. I understood goaltending pretty well. I could tell you all day about technique and RVH and all this other stuff, but I couldn't tell you the first thing about power play one setup or, all these different types of setups that teams have now. So
Justin, I think you hit on a really big point, the reintegration of the goaltender into a team. I've had parents talk to me, I say, hey, how'd the season go? He had a great experience. He liked his teammates. Everything was good, but the coach didn't talk to him. And I'd say, well, what do you mean he didn't talk to him? Didn't say hi to him the whole season. Wouldn't talk to him going into a game because he was afraid of messing him up or throwing him, or he didn't know what to say. And like I said, they didn't include him, or he wasn't told to really pay attention during, like I said, systems breakdowns, the chalkboard, different things. And I think it's going to be the next part of goaltending is getting everybody back involved and having coaches not be afraid to have a conversation with a goaltender. I mean, I remember this parent was saying, like, barely said hi to the goaltender all year. Then when the season ends, they said everything's back to normal, like conversation stuff. I think it's just going to be so important what you just said, the reintegration of the goaltender back into the team.
Yes.
Justin, you're gonna love this, right? So you're gonna exactly what you're talking about. So we have things broken down into acquisition, application, aptitude. Okay. So you have to learn the skill. You have to have a skill. You have to acquire the skill.
Yes.
Okay? Then you have to apply the skill. And then you have to problem solve. Okay. So when you get in our system, our curriculum, when you get to that advanced, right? So the lower the level, the goalie, the younger, less experienced, more the pendulum swings towards the acquisition of the skill. And then once they get that skill, then it's applying that skill with variables and so on and so forth. And then now we get the aptitude, the figure out ability. So the advanced goalie, the better goalie. So we've got in the majority of our drills now, the goalie that's not in net is part of the drill.
Good. Yeah.
And the cool thing is, it's not just playing the rebound. It's how the drill is set up. And we don't want them to do the same thing. One time they're going to throw a screen at the goalie, a static screen. The next one, they're going to do a flash screen. The next one, they're going to go back door. The next one, they're going to go near side for a tip. So the shooter can shoot. But what is really happening as we see this now, guys are figuring out, oh, wait a minute. Puck just went left. I have to go right now. I have to position my body this way to be able to tip this puck. Or the goalie's coming across. I've got to get to this spot And I think they're understanding what shooters are doing in front of the net. And the more they're doing this, I think the quicker they're going to be able to process the options that the shooter has based on the variable of what's going on around them. And that's a big change in our program, because the only way to do a lot of the stuff we're doing right now is what we call overspeed training. You don't follow the rebound on the first shot.
Okay.
And that's always been a big stop it staple. We're doing drills where, hey, even if we have a second shot, we're going to have that first shot create a rebound going to that direction. And then we're going to, so now it's the minute that shot's gone, that next puck could be coming.
Yeah.
And you have to read, is that guy shooting it right away? Is he taking his time? Is he holding it? And where's that goalie in front of the net? And if there's another shoot, where's that possible? So it's as soon as that first save is made, it's processing everything. And it's been such an interesting thing because you've got some real stop it guys. We've done such a good job training them to follow their rebounds. It's so hard for them not to
break it.
It's good for their brain.
100%.
Yeah, no,
It's really good for them.
One of the best ways to learn is to unlearn things, you know, and that unlearning is a big part of the process. And I'm unlearning so many things as I continue to learn new things. And that's part of that journey. But I love to hear that, because I think, again, I'm bringing in like a lot of the findings or a lot of like what was emphasized at these symposiums. And when it comes to, again, designing training programs or designing practice sessions, variability and how realistic it is to the actual game are two of the main principles when you look at like skill acquisition in a team-based sport.
Okay, so let me ask you about that, because this is a hot topic. John sent me an Instagram.
We've had this debate over and over.
Yeah, John sent me an Instagram post, and I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Okay,
That happens often when I send him stuff.
Absolutely screwed me. But anyways, it was a basketball coach and a female basketball coach working in the NBA. And it was predictable training versus random training. I forget exactly the terminology she used.
Yeah.
And her whole presentation was, it's all about the variability and the randomness. And I read the 100 or so comments, and I never read the comments. I read the 100 or so comments, and it was unanimously the way that I felt. And that was, you can't just say, okay, there's no specific skill mechanics. You can't just say, learn everything on your own. That's like me saying to you, hey, Justin, you want to take up golf? You want to be a good golfer? Go to the golf course and play 18 holes every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's got to be, you got to learn how some of the skills that go along.
Yeah.
So I worry about the fact that there was an or. And according to Dak, there's no or. There's the pendulum will swing different areas, but there's still got to be an element of learning how to steer a puck.
Yes.
Or how to smother a puck, or how to make a glove save. There can't be just figure out how to make a glove save and whatever, figure out how to make a steer. Like there's got to be an element to training that is mechanical and skill based. But there's got to me, there's the 3-headed monster of acquisition, application, and that.
So I love that you brought this up, because it is, a big debate right now in like sports, big topic in sports science and skill acquisition. And I agree with you that there's no or, because again, every goalie is different and every learning experience is different, because how the goalie feels, how the individual feels is going to have a direct impact on that learning experience. If the goalie doesn't feel great, or he's got a nagging injury, or there's something else on his mind, his attention isn't focused where you want it to be focused. So this is why, again, goalie coaches are designers of learning experiences, because you have to take all of these different elements into play when you're designing your drills, and you really have to understand what that goalie actually needs and how it needs to be provided for him to make the learning as optimal as possible. And it's an art and it's a science. Like, that's why we said goalie coaching is both an art and a science, because you do need to have the technical, like, deconstructed individual pieces that build a progression that allow the goalie to feel good doing it and trying something new. You also have to create space for the goalie to fail a little bit, and so that the goalie can feel that felt good, this didn't feel good. Well, the coach is saying this looked good, but it didn't feel that good. You know, there's always this, like, really delicate balance that you're trying to create with the goalie, where not only is he feeling a little uncomfortable because it's a new skill and that's a great way to learn, but he also feels good enough to want to do it some more and want to continue to polish that skill. So there's no exact answer. There's no exact, like, perfect way to design a drill that's going to make the goalie, like, learn it as fast as possible. Like, learning is nonlinear, right? Like, being a goalie is nonlinear. There's going to be days where the light turns on and you're like, oh my God, I felt it. I made that save. I made that backdoor save. That felt great on the post integration, whatever. And you'll go back out and you'll feel better physically, but you just, for whatever reason, your timing's a little bit off, or, you know, you just don't have you don't feel as loose. And so you're not really hitting your points. It's nonlinear, you know, and again, that's why
there's still a place. And let's say I'm an old guy. There's
You already did earlier.
There's still a place for directed practice.
Of course.
There's still a place for, like, so I'm on the ice right now. We have a group. And so take this group I was on yesterday afternoon. And there were two goalies that were in the group that hadn't got training, right? When they were, let's say, a younger age, that could not make simple saves consecutively because it wasn't in their muscle memory. They couldn't do it. It was the same mistakes over and over again. And I look at that and I go, well, how much better would that goalie be if they could make, so there were a couple bridge goalies where there's an emphasis on the mechanics in the first phase, and then we go into the variability in the second phase. But we don't move past the first phase until they understand short side shot, leverage steer, we're putting the puck in the corner low, angled steer, we're getting that puck up and away. Like basic 101.
Yeah.
But these older goalies that I'm on, they can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means that they've been playing goalie for 12 years and they haven't figured out that if they extend their stick on a leverage steer, short side angle steer, that puck is going up and off the boards, and now we got chaos. They haven't figured that out on their own. So just saying, let them figure it out. Well, they're playing junior hockey now. Like, it's
they don't have the time.
At some point, someone's got to teach them how to do it and do the reps to have them do that skill. That's going to make them a better goalie. But at the same time, you can't just go 100% on the mechanics because they'll never learn how to play hockey.
Right.
So I get frustrated with I just get frustrated with the people. Like,
this
is the way you have to do it. No, it isn't.
Well, and this is part of why you really have to be careful about, you know, where you source your knowledge from, because ecological dynamics is becoming, and this environmental stuff and the variability and these new methods and these new principles of, you know, skill acquisition and team-based sports. There's a lot of university level research that's coming out, and that's being perceived by coaches that may not have a ton of experience. And so all this new knowledge is being absorbed, and everyone's absorbing it a little bit differently. And so everyone's taking this new knowledge and applying it in different ways. You said the basketball coach. We see it a lot in European soccer. So European football has a lot of this, cricket, those kind of sports that are really dominant in New Zealand and Australia. And so there's this, like I said, it's a really cool transition point because there's all this new knowledge, but how it actually directly correlates to a very, technical position like goaltending, it's still being revealed. Like it's open. See, it's kind of like the Wild West. Like there's all these new ideas and these new ways of training that are becoming more prevalent. And we have to figure out how it best applies to goaltending. We can take some things from basketball, we can take some things from other sports, but until we're actually on the ice one-on-one with our goalies or one-on-one with our coaches and having these discussions, like the truth is out there. We don't know. There's a lot of things that we're still like discovering, like you said, and that's causing us to need to unlearn things and to relearn things. And one of the biggest things I've learned over the last 3 years is how important a concept like periodization is for training programs. And so that's what you mentioned earlier. You have your acquisition stage and then you have your application stage. And that's really where things are starting to lean towards, where you can set a certain amount of time aside at the beginning of the season. Hey, the first 3 weeks of the season, you know what? We're going to get you ready for the season, but there's going to be more learning. We're going to have more of that technical, decomposed, like isolated technical skill development in the first 3 weeks of the season because you need to learn these skills. And hey, you know what? By the time we get to November, December, you're going to have integrated that skill because we focused on it. And now we're going to go back to, hey, focusing on like gameplay and reading and understanding, scoring situations of your opponent and deception and all this other stuff. So that's where periodization comes in. And I think there's a lot of goalie coaches out there that have never taken it upon themselves to even learn what that is. That's not really part of the, basic rhetoric of goalie coaching these days. It's just, oh, I'm going to use this drill and just this drill, and we're going to work on this skill and that skill. Well, again, holistic approach is becoming so important. You have to look at it over the course of a whole season. And just a simple concept like periodization, read a couple of research papers, get a basic understanding of what that is. And now, again, it goes back to coaches or designers. You need to integrate some of these things. And
periodization,
make sure,
get off the ice for 8 weeks. That's part of your, you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah, absolutely. Hey, you've got to find a way to communicate this with your goalie also so that the goalie has some kind of autonomy and input into how the season is being developed. You can't just make it a one-way program where you design all of it and there's no input from the goalies. The goalies can give you so much insight into how the program, how a season-long program can work because they're going to have specific needs. They're going to have some things in their mind that they think they really need to work on. And you may not see eye to eye at first, but as you build that program, if you bring your goalies into the discussion and you have them, give them some autonomy, developing that plan is going to have so much more of an impact because the goalie knows he or she had some say on that learning process. And that can make it really fun too. So I think that's a big part of it too, is like, don't just try and build the whole program one-sided. Make sure the goalie's got some input too. And as you build that periodized program, I think you see a lot of really good opportunities for different types of learning taking place. And now you're more on the same page. And Dak, it's like you said, I don't think you would see as much resistance from the goalies that are like, oh, I can't believe we're working on this basic skill. Like I've been a goalie for 12 years. You know what? Hey, even the greats still work on the mechanical footwork, post-integration every single day. And they do that for a reason, because they know that they still are polishing the skills and it's never truly learned, it's never truly mastered.
And you have to keep up with it.
Justin,
you have to keep up with it. Now, hey, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I just want to jump in at something. You've talked about so much about research, the academic side, the teaching, how you set drills up or how you set a curriculum up. It's amazing that this is how we've evolved as goalie coaches.
Yeah,
I have a
100%.
teaching background, and I'm seeing that goalie coaching is going more towards an academic background, if you will.
Yes.
How you structure things, how you set up. You're never done learning. As a teacher, you're never done learning. Your curriculum's never set. It's the same thing with goalie coaching now. There's always something new coming along. There's always research from another area that can affect the goaltending. you have to be smart, up to date, and want to continuously learn to stay in this game. Like I always laugh and say I'm still involved in this game 50 years after I kept playing it. But I think it goes back to a good student, a good teacher is naturally curious. Yeah. And I think that's really helped, the goaltending evolve.
100%. We need that. We need more of that. And that's, again, I'm going to these events. It's very intense. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of scientific terms that I'm not used to hearing. Maybe 50% of it goes over my head, but the 50% that I'm absorbing, I'm trying to understand. It's taken 2 or 3 years to really get a good grasp on like what is ecological dynamics, how is it actually integrated into goalie coaching, and how is that changing the perception of how we view ourselves? Again, I think as goalie coaches as designers. But I want to bring up a really interesting point. I would love for you guys to think about this as time goes on. It's so interesting to me that, to be quite honest with you, I think we're only in like the 2nd generation or maybe the 3rd generation of goalie coaching even existing. Think about that.
Really good point.
Like Hannah Nyquist is an older gentleman, and he was one of the first goalie minds in Finland to actually develop a curriculum for a whole national program. And then so that's one generation. There's no generation before him. This was only 40 years ago. So we are so early in the lineage of goalie-specific coaching. We've barely scratched the surface of other sports that have had position-specific coaching for decades more than we have. And so if you're a goalie coach and you don't think there's new things to learn, and you think because you played recently or you've been to a few coaching conferences that you know what's out there for goalie coaching, like that's so far away from the truth. Like we barely scratched the surface of sports science and like what you said, John, like what is actually out there that we can apply to goaltending. There's been such a bubble around the coaching position that, like I said, it's all been about what's happening in the crease and the movements and the technique and the butterfly and all those other things. We're missing out on. It's like looking into space. You look into space and you see the sky and you think, wow, that's a lot of sky. You're seeing a fraction of a tiny percentage of what's actually out there. And now that this new science is coming in, it's like, oh, wow, now you're really seeing how much can be applied to goaltending. And it's awesome because there's so much license for creativity, new ideas, new ways of trying things. And when you, again, I will always emphasize this, when you bring the goalies in on that conversation and you show the goalie, hey, there's all this new knowledge. We've got so many things we can do. There's so many different things we can try. The goalies, they get infected by that and they get passionate about it too. And they should be learning the same things we're learning as coaches because it's going to apply to them as well. So I just think it's really interesting to think about goalie, the lineage of goalie coaching of all time. We are still so early in that journey compared to other sports. I think it's just kind of cool to think about.
All right, so I'm gonna pull a Woody on you. Okay.
Okay.
Like that one more question Woody always asks.
Yeah,
when, you know what, we've taken enough of your time.
Yeah.
But here's a big thing John and I have talked about all year, and we've got a plan. We're gonna announce it in August, but
okay.
A lot of talk this year was about overcoaching by goalie coaches. And I look at that, and if you talk about a higher level team concept, I've always felt that the NHL goalie coach shouldn't be there every day with them on the ice.
100%. Okay? Yeah.
Like go to the minors for a couple of days. Let the guys just practice.
Mm-hmm.
At BU, I'm in Monday, Tuesday, sometimes on Wednesday. Thursday's always on their own. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they either have 1 or 2 days without me staring at them. But that's at the higher level. And they're like, okay, goalie coaches are coaching too much. Okay. All right. Then I think about the vast majority of goalies that do not have a goalie coach every day on their team. The vast majority. Yeah. So follow me on this one, right? You're the best person probably in the world to ask this question for, because you've studied development systems all over the world, Canada, Europe, States. and I'm sure you have your opinion on how U.S. goaltending goes, but
Yeah.
when you look at goalie coaching at the younger levels, traditionally here in New England, a goalie will go to goalie training once a week. Okay.
Mhm.
So they'll go to one goalie training session a week. They'll go to 2 practices and they'll play in 2 games. So they'll get 5 events.
Experiences. Yeah.
4 of those events are variable.
Hmm.
There's no coaching going on. They're on their own.
Yeah.
Only one event, 20% of that event is where they're actually getting taught. And there's still variability in that training anyway, but let's just say it's straight teaching for 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't tell me that 20% of instruction and coaching is too much for goalies at the younger levels. Okay. So now let's take it one step further. So where do we get better at coaching? I don't think we provide enough coaching at the younger level. So here's what I see. We got their 1 session a week, then their 2 practices, they don't hear a thing, and their 2 games, they don't hear a thing. So the dots aren't connected
Hmm.
from goalie training to practice to games. And I think that's our biggest issue. I don't think it's too much goalie training. You can argue at the higher level, maybe too
Yeah.
much. The coaches are on top of their goalies.
Hmm.
But for the guys that don't have a designated goalie coach on their team that don't hear anything for their practices and games, when they come to, let's say, us, or they come to Mountain High or whatever,
Yeah.
they get this training. Who's helping them put that in place in practice and games?
Assimilate the knowledge.
No one is,
No.
for the most part. So I'm not buying the too much goalie coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good point, and I appreciate you breaking that down. And again, it's like this is where you just have to be careful about how you curate the information that you absorb, and I think overcoaching is a buzzword that we hear a lot. And again, I hate to say this because it seems like such a cop out, but it really is true. Knowing your goalies, knowing their motivations, and knowing what they truly need to perform at a high level is crucial to understanding what's overcoaching and what's not. So again, autonomous supportive coaching is another thing, another principle where there's decades worth of research on how to apply it, how to understand what overcoaching truly means, and how to challenge your goalies in a way that still is coaching, but allows them to try and assimilate some of this knowledge in a way that to them motivates them because they feel like they put the pieces together.
They're part of the process. They're not
Coaches
just
are
being told something, they're part of the process.
exactly. So that is the key point. Again, you really have to think about the language you use. When you say coaching, what does that mean to you? Well, to me, it's always just been a lot of observing. It hasn't been like you do this, you're going to push from this point to this point. Don't
Because
forget
when I think coaching, I think instruction.
right.
So
And for me,
that word means different things for us, but
yeah,
I understand exactly. So if I say, if I look out on a lesson and there's not enough instruction for me, I'm like, hey, Justin, I think the goalies need more instruction out there. They got 1 hour a week here, dude.
Mhm.
Right? You have to interact with them.
So here's the thing,
And I know what you're gonna say. You're like,
yeah,
more interaction as opposed to more dictating, hey, you do this.
when you develop your practice plan, again, make the goalies a little bit a part of the process so that they come into the training session already with an understanding of like, this is the core competence. These are the core skills we're going to be working on. Here are the 3 bullet points of things that I want to work on today. Coach Dak wants me to, we're going to emphasize steering pucks to the boards. We're going to emphasize, glove projection. And so now the goalie comes in with a mindset of like, these are the 3 things I need to learn. And you haven't said a single word, Dak. You've just written 3 bullet points on the practice plan for the day. And hey, the goalie should already know the practice plan for the day. You know why? Because you've built a whole season plan, and the goalie has had some say in it. So he's had some autonomy in these are the things we're going to focus on. And when you make it a 2-way street and you build that camaraderie and you build that relationship, you're doing more coaching by saying less.
I got it. Really good. Really good.
That's a simple answer for me. And I think there's been for too long, and of course it depends on age, but let's say, hey, high school and older, just throwing out a relative term, high school and older, get those goalies involved in the practice design a little bit. Let them have some autonomy. They will feel better about themselves. They'll remember certain cues without you having to say things. They'll be a little bit more focused because the motivation is there because they had some kind of say in what they're working on. But if you're always just, I'm the goalie coach and I've got all the answers and I'm going to tell you exactly what we're working on, and the goalie's just sitting back, yeah, you're going to have to repeat yourself, and you're not going to get the same attention to detail. And that's another principle of this whole ecological dynamics thing is, where are we focusing the goalie's attention when we build our drills and we build our practice programs? And if the attention is, you're not thinking about where you're focusing their attention, the learning isn't going to be as optimal. So again, it's like there's so many things that you can research and read out there beyond just what's happening in the crease that can make you a better coach and help you eliminate that feeling of, oh, am I over coaching? There's a lot to learn out there about it. And like, that's why I go back to like, hey, I'm still learning how to be a goalie coach. I'm still not ready to take that step and make that happen because I'm still learning about, how to better optimize a goalie's learning experience. But I'll get there at some point, and then I'll come out to your camp and I'll run some drills for you.
That'd be awesome. And if you are a learner, you can't just buy one of your books. You got to buy the whole series. Like I'm sure that when someone goes to buy the 3rd edition, edition is not the right word.
Yeah,
series.
Third part in the series.
Yeah, third part in the series. Like buy all of them, like because they all have their own twist to it, and I think that you give so much back. And one of the things that we didn't get into, and I'm actually really, really happy we didn't get into Lift the Mask, because now we have a reason to invite you on again.
Okay. Yeah.
And we can do. I'd love to do one just on Lift the Mask. Because I know John's involved and John's big into that, and me and my daily primers every day, I'm big into that as well. So I'd love to bring you back and do a part 2, but focus on Lift the Mask.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I know we could have talked all day about the coaching stuff, and I appreciate you guys bringing me on because, again, I told John this beforehand. If you want to look at like any in the United States at a place where convergence is happening, learning is happening, new research is like, it's all there at Stop It Goaltending. And that's why I'm so jealous of the goalies that get to train there because they just have such a great environment to, again, try things and explore and be creative. And that whole concept, that's the art of goalie coaching. And I think that's like really, really important too. It's just like when a goalie goes into that facility, they must feel so good. They must really feel. And I wanted to talk about kinship so much because that's really what has been a huge focus for me on the mental side is that kinship that you get from being in a place like that where you just know everyone loves you and everyone's there to support each other. That's what I think makes Stop It so special.
Justin, we got a program called Be a Pro, and we're in a week and a half into it. The first week, everybody's kind of 10 feet apart, looking sizing each other up. Now they're like right next to each other. They're moving from spot to spot together. They're sharing their knowledge. Hey, what do you think of yesterday's practice? What do you think of yesterday's off ice work? Like in less than a week, 4 on ice sessions, they're bonded like that. And
that is
like when you create an environment like that, coming to work every day is pretty fun just to see that every day.
That is on. I think that again, now that I'm a little bit older and I've done some more traveling and stuff, and I think that is the most important part of goaltending training, goaltending development. It's not the technical stuff. It's like, do you create an environment where goalies feel like they belong, they feel valued, and they feel like they have the license to be their creative selves? And I think when you do that, you develop guys like Scott Darling. You develop guys like Ras Tiranen, like some of these guys that are still playing, still involved, have gone on to have these incredible nonlinear journeys where things have gone up and down, and they all remember how tight they were with their boys at Stop It Goaltending or at some of these camps. Like that is so important to the fabric of the culture of goalie development and goalie training. And it all goes back to like those relationships. You know, like Mitch Korn taught me one of the most important quotes. He said, "People over pucks." You know, and like at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys really appreciate just those relationships and like that kinship that you've created at Stop It Goaltending. I think is so cool, and it's something that I love to see on the social media and stuff like that. So yeah, keep up the awesome work. It's
I'm going to take that clip that you just went off on that tangent there.
Yeah,
you're going to take that clip, and when a parent tries to explain to me why they don't want to do our group lessons anymore and they just want to spend twice as much money for private lessons and do it on their own, and I try to explain to them why there's so much value in going with the group.
Yes.
And they're like, well, no, it's better. They need this and they need that. And I'm like, I've got 2 kids. They never did. Alex and Joey DeCord never did a private lesson. Do you know what I mean? Now, are private lessons valuable? Yes. You have an issue. You have a specific part of your game that needs to be addressed. Absolutely. Love private lessons for that.
Mm-hmm.
To say I can afford it, and since it's more expensive, it's the best option for my kid, I think is misguided.
I would agree with that 100%. And like, I could go on and on, so I might just
we'll save this for the next Lift the Mask one.
Yeah, we'll save it for the next one, because and again, that's why kinship has become such a huge part of like where I'm steering things with Lift the Mask. Is again, you got to be so careful with the words that you use, but kinship is something that has existed since the beginning of humankind, right? And there's no better place to feel that kinship than I think in the goalie community, because we do lead such unique lives as athletes. And when the coaches and the goalies are together and you see the camaraderie and you see the chemistry, and you see that kinship in action, it's like, that's the most fulfilling part of the game for me. And maybe I'm not doing it on the ice as a coaching role, but when I go to these symposiums and I see Hanu and Dave Alexander, the degrees of separation between everyone, like we're all truly a community. We're all truly a tribe. And I think, you know, the relationship that you guys have with me and we have together, it's been around for 13, 14 years. And even though we rarely see each other, like we're still like blood brothers, and I still feel that bond. I still feel like I'm just right down the street from Merrimack when I see you guys on social media, you know, and that feeling, that's what drives me, you know, like that's why I love doing this, because anywhere I go, even though I'm far from home, if there's a goalie guy there or someone from a symposium or whatever, I've got some kind of connection with them and I feel that bond, and that's what drives the learning. That's what drives the pursuit for, you know, optimal performance in whatever I'm doing. So I appreciate the fact that you guys have created that kind of environment and have been doing it for so long, because it really has become like, you know, the epitome of what we want to see in goalie training, is that camaraderie and that kinship. So love you guys so much, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. We're going to have you back.
All right. Sounds good.
So much. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Talk to you guys later.
I hope you enjoyed the Goalie Podcast by Stop It Goaltending U. If you haven't already downloaded the Stop It Goaltending U app, you can get your free 7-day trial at either the App Store or Google Play.